Sam, the season's come to an end. The players are obviously all now jetting off on their holidays, but in the meantime they've been given programmes to look at before they come back. What do they look like for each individual?
Yeah, so this year we've gone with a position-specific format for the on-field running that they've got to do. So a lot of them have got a little bit of aerobic-based running to work upon. Some have got some anaerobic work, and obviously there's a lot of sprint work to be doing upon that. The way we've sort of structured the programme this year is obviously players need to rest at some point. It's been a long year, it's been a tough year, so they need to rest their bodies, rest their mind, and come back with a new mindset. And then from that programme we then go into the gym phase work. Predominantly we're looking at all the players to gain as much strength as we can within this period of time, especially whilst they're not on feet as much. And then gradually from there, with about 4 weeks left before coming back in for the start of pre-season, they'll be on a run-based programme, starting with a bit more aerobic, building their volume up in terms of their running capacity, and then slowly changing the volume and the intensity and swinging forward and back. So overall, that's how it looks for the next 6 weeks.
Are you expecting them to provide regular feedback, or are they sort of left and trusted that they're going to do it and follow it day by day?
Yeah, to be fair, it's mostly changed from like 10-15 years ago now. Obviously with the lockdown situation, there's a lot more strategies that we've put in place now, using Strava as an example of understanding how much work they're doing in terms of on the feet. Players now like to have video sessions recorded of them when they are doing the gym sessions. So it's quite easy to monitor, to be fair. And most of the players now are very professional, and they're always talking to you daily and asking you questions to change parts of the programme, or asking why they're doing this, why they're doing that, because ultimately it's their professional careers that they want to look after themselves in the long run.
Yeah, you've been in the door a few months now. Has that helped in that time to sort of get to know people as well? And the different players, of course, have all got different wants and needs, haven't they? So now when you're giving these programmes out, you have a bit more understanding as well as to what the people are like, as well as just the footballers.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously when I came in during the mix of the chaos in terms of January, where there was just games after games, it's mostly allowed me to understand what the footballer needs for that specific reason, and ultimately it's been trying to understand how they apply themselves throughout that off-season, knowing, okay, you're going abroad at this time, so I know that realistically you're not going to do the work, but obviously we can work and manipulate the schedule for that. Obviously the gym programme for the players is very individual and specific to them, whereas what we've tried to do is focus on what we're trying to play next year in terms of tactical and the philosophy nature of the game that we're going to be planning for. So a lot of the running based programmes can be high intensity work, and hopefully by the time it gets to pre-season, fans will be able to see that in the games.
Of course, players tend to come back at different stages depending on how much extra work they've done in the off-season, but there's always that baseline, isn't there? You need to at least reach those standards.
Yeah, definitely. And the players have already in the programme been warned what's coming for week one, so they've already got the pre-warnings to make sure you're ready. Because otherwise, if they're not ready for week one, they'll soon find out it's going to be a tough year.
You've obviously had time to show them what they need to do in the back end of the season. Has that helped from their perspective understand what you're going to be like in a full campaign? You've mentioned already that pre-season is your time, really, isn't it, to flourish, if you like? Yeah,
it's most of the time where my role is the most important part of the year, especially when we want to make sure that players are conditioned correctly for the game. And ultimately, if we condition them properly for the game, then hopefully there should be any major injuries over the year. Obviously from my base, it's to make sure that 1, they're fit, 2, they're physically ready, but ultimately they've got to be ready for the whole season. And slowly but surely, over the last 4 months that I've been here for now, it's been a bit of an assessment to understand what has been done, what has worked before, and what can I put in that's new, but I believe that's a key part of my philosophy.
There's a couple of players who've missed the latter stage of the season, and one in particular, John Taylor, who's not really kicked a ball through the last campaign. What does the off-season look like for them? Are they still continuing with their sort of injury rehab and then building themselves up from there?
Yeah, so they go through their injury rehab now, and they're pretty much sort of that back end. If the season was mostly an extra 3 weeks, it could have been a rare bouts of games. Mainly for people like John and other players that are in that same situation, they get a bit of time to rest, but ultimately they've still got a lot of rehab work to do. They're going on a PFA rehab scheme, which is part of their rehab that comes forward from being a PFA member, which is very vital for us because it gives us data and gives an analysis of their body biomechanics and their force data, and that can help the long-term preparation of their S&C programme. and ultimately from there with about 4 weeks left, the S&C programme, the off-season running programme, but the majority of lads are currently going to be starting in a few weeks. That's where John will then be starting. So he's much as a few weeks behind, but hopefully he should be hitting the ground running when it comes to pre-season.